Mainz and Money London 2018, ladies and gentlemen, Commodity TV here for you, and we talk now for the first time to Polar X, and Fraser Tabea, the managing director, wants to give us an insight into his company. Welcome, Fraser.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you here for the first time, actually. Even you are a London guy, right?
Yeah, so I
English guy.
educated here in London, but living in Australia and now exploring in Alaska.
That's the key, and that's what we want to talk about.
Sure.
So Polar X, give us maybe a short overview about the companies, and then we dive into more detail.
Yeah. So we, as I said, we are an Australian listed company, but our principal project is in the US state of Alaska. It's a copper and copper gold play.
Yeah.
And we've been working on that for about 2 years now. So we've got a couple of small but very high-grade resources with a huge amount of exploration upside, and particularly for something that could be much, much larger.
Okay. So how have you put the company together? Because I think you merged with another company, right?
Correct, yeah. So it's basically a merger between two companies. One was a private Australian company called Vista Minerals, and Vista had the option to earn into the northern part of the project. And as it turns out, there was a listed Australian company called Porphyry Resources that had the immediately adjacent property to the south.
Okay.
And we, each management team knew one another, and it made a lot of sense to bring everything together. We had offices very nearby to one another in Australia, and adjacent properties in Alaska. It was kind of crazy to keep it going as two separate entities.
Okay, fantastic. Great. So you said already you have resources and you have several properties. So let's maybe give us a little bit of an overview on that. And what are the resources, what are grades like, stuff like that our viewers get an idea what you have found.
So the project occurs at the boundary between the Tintina Gold Belt, which is to the north of us. And that's the belt that hosts things like Pogo and Donlin. And that's sort of become quite popular in Australia now, with Northern Star making their investment and buying Pogo mine. We're generally in geology to the south of that, which is a known porphyry copper belt. So it's predominantly copper and copper gold. So we have two resources. We have a project called Caribou Dome, which is about 3 million tonnes at just over 3% copper, so nice high grades.
Okay.
That is a type of deposit that a geologist would call a massive sulfide. So it formed fairly early in the geology, and it's got quite complex geometry as a result of that. About 25 kilometres to the northeast from there, we have another project called Zackley, and Zackley that also has a resource. It's about 3.5 million tonnes at 1.2% copper, 2 grams gold, and about 14 grams silver. So nice high grades. And
you have mineralization already from the surface, or you have to go deep?
No, so that's right from surface. That was discovered in the late 1970s through outcropping gold and gold in stream sediments. What attracted us to that area is that type of deposit is one that's often associated with much, much larger copper projects. So it's what the geologists would call a skarn. So you've had fluids escaping from a possible porphyry intrusion that's reacted with limestone, and that forms the mineralisation. That's what we've got. We've done a lot more drilling this year, and we're expecting later this year, and certainly going into next year with another round of drilling, quite a substantial resource upgrade there. But we're also getting a very strong vector further to the east-southeast, where we've got a really strong magnetic anomaly that looks, to all intents and purposes, like a porphyry copper deposit. So we've been pretty excited by how that's developed this year.
Okay, great. So this is, of course, an exploration play, So 2019, you want to drill a lot more, and then you bring the new resource. When you said this year, because this year is only like 4 weeks.
That's right.
That's 2019. Okay, no,
so
just to make it clear. Okay, but that is fine for me. What is, let's say, the bigger picture? Do you want to bring that in production? Do you want to partner, or you want to sell it? Because you say, no, we are exploration guys. Production is not our business.
Good question. So we've got sort of two quite different approaches here. One is the existing Zackley resource. With a further round of drilling, if we can upgrade that resource to perhaps 10 million tonnes, and we think we've got a pretty clear line of sight to that now, that's the sort of deposit that we think we could develop in our own right. I mean, our chairman's been involved with a number of mining operations in Africa and Asia and Australia, so there's a pedigree there of developing these projects. And that's, we're looking there at a project that might be of the order of 1 million tonnes a year, 10-year mine life, sort of $100 million plus or minus to build that.
That's reasonable for
reasonable.
Alaska.
Yeah, I mean,
that's okay.
we're not talking a huge operation.
So the infrastructure is already quite
pretty good infrastructure.
Because normally Alaska is remote.
I mean, we can drive to this project within 6 hours from Anchorage.
Okay,
so it's pretty easy. Good. Yeah. So that's one option. However, if we find a major porphyry discovery next year, and we've got 2 really high priority targets there, then that will be a slightly different beast. I mean, I think at the right time then, bringing in a partner to help us finance the next round of major resource expansions and feasibility studies is something that we would look to. I mean,
perfect.
A major porphyry is something that, whilst technically we could manage, financially it would be quite a tough one for us. But
great.
But there's the opportunity. That's what we're
absolutely.
looking for.
So that's the big picture for the future, and that probably also the upside then for the future for the company.
Correct.
Of course. Now we have spoken already about money. So what is money in the bank? First thing, because drilling costs money.
Correct.
And secondly, I would love to know what is the shareholder structure. Meaning, do you have some big institutions? And even the most important thing, because I heard this already on the fair, what is management share? Yeah,
so management own about 15% of the company.
15, well, that's 15, a lot.
Yeah, and that's been through not just sweat equity, but actual cash invested in the company as well. So, we have all written checks and put our hard-earned cash into it.
Like to hear that,
In terms of the rest of the register, very strong institutional support, particularly out of London.
Oh, really?
So JP Morgan is our biggest shareholder. They own just under 9% of the company.
Wow.
Ruffer UK are also a major shareholder, as is Jupiter Asset Management. So those are our sort of very strong support out of London. And then good institutional support out of the US as well. So US Global is now on the register. And then Lowell Resources in Australia. So I think our top 20 shareholders own about 65% of the company,
super.
so it's pretty tightly held.
I mean, that gives you also probably a bit more room if financing is needed for the future.
Yeah,
because they have deep pockets.
They've got deep pockets, and to be honest, at the moment, Polar X is a pretty small company for those guys. So, we know they would like us to grow the opportunity to give them the ability to put more funding in. So, we know anytime we do a raising that we've got probably 15 to 25% of that raising already covered through their support. So effectively, already cornerstone for any subsequent raisings.
Fantastic. Great. Shortly on 2019, what is, let's say, a little bit of the plan for 2019?
So we hope to get back out in the field in late April next year. We've got 3 goals next year. First one is to do an IP survey over one of our porphyry targets so that we can get that drill ready. Second one in the main program next year will be to drill the eastern part of Zackley where we have our open pit potential. And we'd be looking at about a 3,000 metre drilling program there, which, if that went well, and certainly the data is indicating that would get that whole project to critical mass for a viable operation. And then thirdly, we want to drill the 2 main porphyry targets. So, we have the one that will do the IP. The other one is already drill ready, and that's got a coincident magnetic anomaly, Grand geophysics IP anomaly, and very strong support in soil sampling and rock chip sampling for copper, gold, molybdenum, and arsenic. So all the sort of fingerprints you'd hope for a porphyry system. So
fantastic.
We're very excited by that's going to be a busy year. But potentially one that could totally change the company.
Yeah, really busy year in front of you guys. I would say all the best for that.
Thank you.
Hit the drills very hard and show good results. And I'm pretty sure your large shareholders would love to see that because obviously they see a lot of potential in you guys.
They do, and they're in it for the big one, not the small one.
Exactly.
So and so are we.
Great. Fraser, thank you very much for that.
Pleasure.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Yeah, you too.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it was Fraser Tabiat from Polar X, the managing director. And you heard it, a pretty impressive shareholder base with US Global, JP Morgan. Also, the management has 15% skin in the game here. I really like that. And they've paid for their shares. That's also very important. But even more important, they have very promising projects in Alaska, copper and gold. Those are 2 metals which will be again in high demand next year. So that's anyway good. And the drills are turning next year, so stay tuned for the company, check it out, and watch out for some good news here. Thanks for watching us. Bye-bye from London, and Merry Christmas.